Something happened in Monaco that nobody saw coming. For months, people believed they had Ferrari all figured out. The SF25 was a car with promise, but also with problems, especially in the slow-speed corners. That was the general view. Strong, in straight-line speed, decent over one lap, but unpredictable and difficult when things slowed down. But then came Monaco, the most technical, tight, and unforgiving track on the calendar. A place where car balance, confidence, and grip in slow speed. Corners make all the difference. And on this very circuit, Ferrari didn't just show up, they sent a warning. Charles Leclerc didn't just lead the timesheets. He delivered a performance that could change how we view Ferrari's entire 2025 campaign. His pace was not just strong. It was calculated, aggressive, and consistent across every run. From the very first lap of free practice 1, he looked different. Confident, composed, in control. It didn't matter that he brushed the barriers or that he broke his front wing in an early encounter with Lance Stroll. That didn't slow him down. It only seemed to wake him up. He came back out, pushed harder, and went faster. It was a clear signal that Leclerc was ready for something bigger this weekend. And this wasn't just a great day for a hometown hero. This was a clear and direct sign that Ferrari had found something. Something in their setup, something in their understanding of the SF25, or maybe something emotional that simply clicked in a way that hadn't happened before. The real shock came in the way the car handled the very thing it had struggled with all year long, slow-speed corners. Monaco is full of them, hairpins, chicanes, tight angles with no room for error. Yet Ferrari didn't struggle here. They thrived. Looking at the telemetry data, it's obvious something changed. In turns 8 and 12 especially, Leclerc was flying. While others were cautious, braking a bit early or lifting slightly, Leclerc kept pushing. He carried more speed through those sections than almost anyone else. The car stayed planted. It didn't snap. It didn't slide. It didn't fight him. It flowed. And that's not something we've seen from Ferrari at tracks like Bahrain or Baku, where the SF25 looked unsettled and tough to drive in the slower, tighter sections. Oscar Piastri and McLaren, who have been consistent front-runners lately, looked strong in the first part of the lap. But as the cars moved into the final sector, the section that truly tests both bravery and precision, Leclerc pulled away. He was building time while others were losing it. That's not just about having a good car. That's about trust. Trust. In your machine, trust in your brakes, your tires, your downforce. And it was all there for Leclerc. When you look at the delta graph, the story becomes even clearer. In the final sector, Leclerc gained time where most others were bleeding it. Against Max Verstappen, he was up by 0.163 seconds. Against Lando Norris, the gap was even bigger, 0.326 seconds. That's not a small difference. That's domination, especially at a track like Monaco, where lap times are measured in the tiniest fractions and every tenth is worth gold. What makes this even more impressive is that Ferrari didn't bring any major upgrades to Monaco. The car, mechanically, is the same SF25 we've seen all season. No new floor, no new rear wing, no breakthrough component that changed the game. But the way the team set up the car made all the difference. Monaco demands a very specific kind of setup. Soft suspension settings, higher ride heights, and compromises that you don't normally see at other tracks. And these compromises, ironically, helped Ferrari. The very rigidity that made the SF25 a handful in Bahrain and Baku was now giving it strength in Monaco. The stiff platform gave stability through direction changes, especially in the fast transitions like turn 12. While other cars bobbed or floated, the Ferrari held firm. It was an unintentional advantage, but it worked. The circuit forced everyone to adjust their setup, and in doing so it gave Ferrari the ideal conditions to finally show what the car can do. For Charles Leclerc, this meant everything. Monaco isn't just another race for him, it's his home. He grew up here. These streets are filled with memories. They're the roads he walked as a child, the corners he dreamed of conquering. And year after year, Monaco gave him heartbreak. Pole positions lost to mechanical failures, races ruined by pit stops and crashes. It's been a cruel venue for someone who loves it so deeply. But this year felt different. From the first moment he exited the pit lane, Leclerc looked ready. His laps were smooth, his lines were tight, and his feedback to the team was sharp. Even when he made mistakes, he bounced back quickly. That's the sign of a driver in total control, not just of the car, but of himself. And when the final sector came around, he didn't lift. He didn't hesitate. He attacked it like it was his last lap in a championship fight. The difference was visible. He wasn't just driving fast, he was driving with purpose, with emotion. That kind of driving can't be taught. It comes from something deeper, from history, from pain, from desire. And this weekend, it all came together in a way that left the rest of the field stunned. But there's another side to this story, because this might not have been a lucky weekend or a simple case of a driver outperforming the car. There's a theory now spreading through the paddock that Ferrari planned this all along. What if, while other teams focused their upgrades on high-speed circuits, Ferrari quietly designed a strategy around Monaco? What if they knew that if they could dominate here, where track position is everything, they could send a message to the rest of the grid? No major upgrades, no flashy new parts, just a carefully prepared car that suits this one circuit better than any other. If they lock out the front row in qualifying, they can control the race. And on a track where overtaking is almost impossible, that control is everything. If that's true, if Ferrari did build their early season approach around Monaco, it's a masterstroke. It explains the lack of upgrades. It explains the sharpness of their setup right out of the box. It explains the confidence of Leclerc, who has been pushing for more say in development decisions this year. Maybe this weekend wasn't about reacting to pressure. Maybe it was about executing a plan that's been in place for months. And that opens up a bigger question. Is there more performance in the SF25 that we haven't seen yet? If the car wasn't changed, but simply understood, what does that say about the rest of the calendar? Could this be the first of many strong weekends? Or is this a one-off? A beautiful moment created by a perfect storm of track layout, setup rules, and raw emotion? That's the big mystery. Because if Ferrari really has figured something out, then we might be looking at a completely different team for the second half of the season. A team not just fighting for podiums, but possibly for wins. But if this only works in Monaco, then the celebration might be short-lived. That's the risk. That's the test. But for now, all signs point to a team that has turned a corner. A team that finally understands its own machine. Leclerc's performance is more than just a fast lap. It's a moment, a shift in mood, a sign that belief is returning to a team that has carried doubt for too long. Every year, Ferrari talks about progress, about lessons learned. But this time we're seeing it. The telemetry backs it up. The consistency backs it up, and most importantly, the driver backs it up. Charles Leclerc is not just driving better, he's driving with a cause. And if this is the real Ferrari, then the rest of the grid needs to be ready. Because they didn't just top a practice session, they sent a shockwave. A message that the red team is not done, that the passion is still there, that the fight is still alive, and that under the right conditions they can be unbeatable. So what comes next? That's what everyone is watching. If Ferrari can take this pace into qualifying, secure a front row lockout, and control the race from the front, it will change everything. Not just for Monaco, not just for Leclerc, but for the entire season. It will prove that the SF25 is not a flawed machine, but a misunderstood one. That the team doesn't need to reinvent the car. They just need to unlock it. This performance wasn't just technical, it was emotional. It was personal. It was about history and heartbreak, and finally, redemption. And if it ends with Leclerc on the top step of the podium, the roar from Monaco will echo all the way to Maranello. This could be the moment that changes the story of 2025. A weekend that started like any other, but became a symbol of belief, perseverance, and quiet confidence. Ferrari may not have made headlines with new parts, but they've made something even more important, a statement, one that the rest of the paddock can't ignore. The next few days will tell us whether this was a one-off or the start of something much bigger. But if you look at the data, the way the car handled and the way Leclerc drove, it's hard not to feel something has shifted. Monaco may be tight, short, and slow, but it has always been a place where stories are rewritten. And this weekend, Ferrari might just have started a new chapter.